The evening was supposed to be ours alone. After weeks of careful preparation, we finally opened our home to host a gathering, a joyful tribute to our marriage, our closest friends, and the future we were shaping side by side. I had hoped it would become one of those cherished memories we would both treasure forever. The rooms filled with the warm sound of laughter, pulsing music, and the comfortable hum of people connecting. Still, somewhere inside, a subtle discomfort took root in my heart, an unnamed shadow I tried to ignore. The moment her ex stepped inside, I caught the sudden spark that lit up my wife's face. I brushed the observation away, convincing myself it was nothing more than my imagination running wild. After all, she had picked me. As the night unfolded, however, she kept gravitating toward him, her laughter growing brighter and more unrestrained, her smile stretching wider in his presence. A tightness gripped my chest, yet I refused to let jealousy take over. I didn't want to become that insecure husband who spoils everything with unfounded doubts. I kept telling myself it was innocent, merely echoes of an old chapter briefly resurfacing. Then the playlist changed, and the slow, seductive rhythm that filled the air made denial impossible. Without a second thought, my wife reached for her ex's hand and guided him straight onto the dance floor. Everything inside me froze. They pressed together in a way that went far beyond friendly or casual. Bodies aligned much too intimately. Her arms draped over his shoulders while his hands settled on her waist, holding on longer than any simple dance justified. I remained rooted in place, forced to witness the woman I had vowed my life to performing for the entire room. Murmurs spread among the guests. Suddenly I wasn't the only one who saw it. I fought to keep my composure, but fury simmered just beneath my skin. People exchanged awkward looks, pretending not to watch while quietly taking the unfolding spectacle. Across the crowded space, our eyes locked for a fleeting instant. I thought perhaps she would pull back. Instead, she gave a deliberate smile and molded herself even tighter against him. This went beyond simple disloyalty. It felt like deliberate, public humiliation, almost a challenge thrown directly at me to react. As the track faded out, she sauntered over to me, acting as though the moment had been completely ordinary. I swallowed my anger and managed to keep my tone even. What exactly was that? I asked. Her gaze sparkled with bold entitlement as she gave a careless shrug. It was only a dance, she replied. You're turning this into something it isn't. I locked my jaw and forced air into my lungs. We both knew it had been far more than a dance. Her words sliced through the air, cold, cutting, absolute. I don't owe you loyalty. Those exact 5 words landed like a blade, sharper than anything else she could have said. The atmosphere around us thickened instantly. Even the people standing nearby went quiet, feeling the gravity of her declaration. There was no pause, no softening, no attempt to walk it back. She stared at me as though I were naive for ever expecting commitment, for daring to assume that marriage carried any obligation of faithfulness. The room seemed to shrink around us. In that crushing instant, every sacrifice I'd ever made, every sleepless night, every concession, every personal dream I quietly set aside, flooded my thoughts. And there she remained, sweeping it all aside with a single, dismissive sentence. The illusion finally shattered. I had been holding on to a relationship that only I truly valued. To her, I was nothing more than a reliable fallback, never an equal partner. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg or debate. I simply stood taller, looked straight into her eyes, and spoke the only truth left. Then we're finished. The smug expression on her face faltered instantly. Shocked gasps moved the crowd, but I didn't wait around to watch her recover. I turned and walked straight out of our own party, leaving her behind to carry the consequences of her choices. My departure said more than any shouting match ever could have. That same night, while I quietly packed my belongings, the full weight of the evening finally sank in. My phone kept lighting up with texts from friends who had seen everything unfold. Some sent messages of support, others expressed their disbelief. But every single one of them reached the same conclusion. What she had done was an unmistakable, public act of betrayal. She never returned home that night. Perhaps she assumed I would eventually calm down, that I would overlook it the way I had in the past. This time, though, something fundamental had changed. This time I saw everything clearly, without any excuses left to hide behind. Several days passed before she showed up at my door, all traces of her earlier arrogance erased. She pleaded, sobbed, and offered explanations, but I had no interest in hearing them anymore. You made it perfectly clear. I told her, you don't owe me loyalty, and now I don't owe you this marriage. I shut the door on her tears, experiencing an unexpected combination of sorrow and liberation. Leaving her behind tore at me deeply. Yet it was also the most powerful decision I had ever made. For the very first time, I placed my own dignity above her disregard.